I'd like to call to order this meeting of the First Five Sacramento Commission for Monday, February 3rd, 2025. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll and establish a quorum?
Yes, sir. Chair Serna.
Here.
Commissioner Wesley.
Here.
Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia.
Here.
Commissioner Gordon.
Here.
Commissioner Casirier, not here today. Commissioner Katari.
Here.
Commissioner Moak.
Here.
Commissioner Kennedy. No. Commissioner Hassett.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Gross.
Here.
Commissioner Lloyd.
Here.
And Commissioner Kravitz-Wertz.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Great, thank you. Will you please rise and join Commissioner Moak in our pledge?
You bet. You'll have to stand, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Madam Clerk, if you could please read our statement.
This meeting of the First Five Sacramento Commission is live and recorded with closed captioning. It is cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the Local Government Affairs Channel on the Comcast and DirecTV UVerse cable systems. It is also live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Thursday, February 6th at 1 p.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can be viewed on demand at youtube.com/metrocable14.
All right, very good, thank you. Again, I'd like to welcome everyone to our second meeting of the year. And certainly, again, want to remind folks that have joined us here in chambers that if you wish to address the commission, you're certainly welcome to do so. We just ask that you complete a speaker slip. And please mind the fact that we do have a speaking limit of 3 minutes per speaker in place so that everyone who wishes to address the commission has that opportunity to do so. With that, and before we get to our consent items, I believe Commissioner Nicole Kravitz-Wertz, is this not your first meeting? So I want to welcome you on behalf of the commission and look forward to working alongside you. Very good. All right, our first item, please.
Item number 1, approval of November 4th, 2024 draft action summary.
All right, does any commissioner wish to comment on or suggest changes to the draft action summary? If not, and if there are no public speakers assigned to speak on this, I'd entertain a motion. Chair will move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Serna.
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley.
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Gross.
Aye.
Commissioner Katari.
Aye.
And Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Very good, thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 2, appoint commissioners to standing committees. Melissa Lloyd to SOS Committee and Nicole Kravitz-Wertz to Evaluation Committee.
All right. Any discussion on these nominations? Okay, I think they'll serve very well in these capacities, and I appreciate both Melissa and Nicole stepping forward to serve. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move to, can we do both at the same time?
Yes.
Move to appoint both to their respective committees.
Okay, there's a motion.
I can second.
There's a second. Any public speakers, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, very good. All right, roll call vote, please.
Chair Serna.
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley.
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Gross.
Aye.
Commissioner Katari.
Aye.
And Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you and congratulations. Okay, we're on to separate matters, and the first item under separate matters is the public's opportunity to address this commission on any item that is not on our published agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak on off-agenda matters?
No, sir.
All right, very good. Then we'll go on to the next item, please.
Item number 4, Executive Director's Report.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. We may have given short shrift to Commissioner Lloyd. It's also her first meeting. Welcome. I wanted to start off the executive director's report by asking one of our colleagues to come up to the podium and meet me, Stephanie Biegler. I have to take my notes with me.
Cue the Miss America music, right?
You have to give the wave. Oh, goodness, you're very welcome. After 26 years at the Child Abuse Prevention Council, Stephanie Biegler is retiring as deputy director. I know, it's shocking. We are still reeling. I think we can probably count on one hand the number of times that Stephanie has not been sitting in the audience in those 26 years. I jokingly say that I've spent more time with Stephanie in meetings and on the phone than I have with the majority of my staff, just because of the work and how closely we work together. When I first started, Stephanie and I went out and to lunch, I think, with Sheila, and that's where they started my education, and she's been working on me ever since that first lunch meeting, just really schooling me in prevention work and in the work of Birth and Beyond and just the greater work of child abuse prevention in the county, and I appreciate you so much. You've made all the difference.
Likewise.
And I can't not say something about Safe Sleep Baby, which would never exist the way it does without Stephanie's leadership. Really understanding from the get-go that those most impacted by those deaths had to be at the table to craft the solution, and inviting them and building a whole program around their messaging. So just thank you so much. You deserve this retirement. I hope you start taking it soon.
I will.
Okay. We have just some flowers and a small gift for you, and
Thank
please
you so
say
much.
a few words.
Oh, I probably will.
And I know your boss might want to say it.
Oh, good. Okay. This is kind of dangerous, giving me the mic like this on many fronts, but I have had the honor for since 19, whatever it is, too many years, over 3 decades, to come to work and do what I love doing. And retirement, when you have that opportunity, is bittersweet. However, you take with you so many memories. And I won't take you through 35 years of my career, but maybe highlight just a little. I was part of teams and funders that launched Sacramento CASA. I was part of team and funders that launched the Crisis Nursery long before Sheila was at the CAP Center, because they would be within the CAP Center if she were there then and now. Then I was contracting with Child Protective Services to do an independent evaluation of a very friendly named program called the Title IV-B program. Now, to this day, I wonder why any parent would want to come and take services from the Title IV-B program, in all due respect to Melissa, managed by Child Protective Services. I then had the opportunity to be part of the team on the ground to create Birth and Beyond, and we took all the lessons learned from Title IV-B and wove them into Birth and Beyond to the program that has the success that it has had today. When Sheila and I were at the CAP Center, when First Five was just launching, and fingers crossed and a lot of prayers that were thankfully answered, that the commission would understand that school readiness starts before. And it doesn't have as much to do with academics as it does to make certain that the health and the well-being of a child makes them ready to learn and makes them ready to engage and thrive in school. And I stand here 26 years later, 25 years later, with a heart filled with gratitude for this commission and the commissioners before you that understood that importance, and that fact that you have sustained and grown programs that collectively prepare a child for school. We don't do this work alone, and one of the things that I thrived on and I will miss is partnering with wonderful county leaders like Julie, her incredible team, the retired Michelle Callejas and Jim Hunt before her and other leaders before her, you, Commissioner Cerna and Supervisor Cerna, having that guidance and having that, I'll use this word, insistence from those that are decision makers in moving the work of child abuse prevention has put this county so far ahead of other counties. I mean, when you think about it, we really began to be serious about child abuse prevention back in 1998. So, and yes, you are right, Julie, Safe Sleep Baby is near and dear to my heart. So thank you so much. And not only do we do this work alone because we have wonderful partners, but we also have a wonderful staff. And the future of the Child Abuse Prevention Center is brighter than it is today, thanks to the leadership of Janae and Camille, my replacement, and Tally, who is the Birth and Beyond guru, and others such as Renee, who is marshaling Safe Sleep Baby, and Cindy, who makes certain that our AmeriCorps members and staff at Birth and Beyond have the skills that they need to go ahead and serve parents that we're honored to serve. And Commissioner Wurtzite, I cannot tell you how important your father was to all of this work and to so many of our successes today. He was a treasured friend of mine. We were colleagues. Every time I was going to call him, I made sure I kept an hour open on on my calendar, because I knew that that's what it would take for he and I to really talk and come to some decisions about how we collectively can strengthen families and protect children. So I leave you all with a heart filled with gratitude upon measure. And Julie, it's just been an absolute treasure working with you. You all know the fabulous leader that she is. And Michelle's words of "let's take care of the little ones" will stay with me until I'm in my coffin, I think.
Don't go anywhere. Commissioner Moak.
Yes. I text a picture of you standing there to one of your sons, so he would know what a proud moment you were having in real time.
Thank you.
It's hard to describe what one person could possibly mean to the fabric of a community, and what you have done in Sacramento, and for so many people that don't even know your name, is remarkable. You've been doing it for a long time. As you said, luckily I didn't have to say that. You started way long ago, before prevention was even a topic, was a word that we even said. Title 4B you referenced. I don't know if in your independent evaluation, if there was one particular home visitor that was good or bad. If it was good, it was me. If it was bad, it was not me. Because I was a home visitor in that program as part of Title 4B, and I got to see what you then created with people around this community in building Birth and Beyond, the Family Support Collaborative, and everything that has come about since then. You are truly and have been a champion for children. The things that you have put yourself in the middle of, the things that a lot of people don't want to know and see. Your work on Child Death Review Team, your work with Dr. Wirtz, with your dad over decades, have made people's lives better. Like a lot of times people say, "Oh, we're not saving lives here. This isn't saving lives." You've literally been saving people's lives. And I don't even know a bouquet of flowers and a couple moments here, but what this community needs to do to repay you, I can't even fathom. I am so lucky to have worked for you, to have known you for as long as I have, and I do truly hope you get to take some time to, because you have been in it for everybody else but yourself for a really long time.
Thank
so
you, Scott.
Love you so much.
Likewise.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Any others?
Sorry. She's like, "Why did I join this? What is going on?" Jesus.
Yeah, you'll be passing the Kleenex to him several times during your tenure. So.
Well, she's the crier. She cries at like.
Thank you so much.
I just want to add, Stephanie, that I've known you now 15 years, and I think Julie said it best, or made reference to it, I think appropriately so, that you've been a terrific educator for so many of us. And I can remember as a freshman supervisor and as a man with no children of his own, kind of understanding, at times it was drinking from a fire hose, but understanding just the importance and the opportunity that then was before me as just 20% of the Board of Supervisors, or as an equal here up on the commission, the good that we could do, and how to think carefully about resource allocation, and certainly paying very, very close attention to outcomes. That'll stay with me forever. So I just want to add to what Commissioner Moak and what Julie have already offered in terms of just touching a small part of your long and well-respected legacy here in Sacramento County. And please never forget that your success, as Commissioner Moak put it, is measured in saved lives. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay. There's a little more to the executive director's report. I'll jump back in there. I wanted to have to reference Commissioner Wirtz again, because one of the things that I wanted to share was that we have the plaque up in our conference room now. That really honors Commissioner Wirtz, proudly displayed there. For each of our first meetings of the year, we've been just reading that plaque aloud for everybody in the committee, in the committees, and in the room to hear and to keep his spirit alive. He did a lot of work in those four walls, let me tell you. I have a staffing update. Some of you know, some of you might not know that Latina retired over the holidays, which I'm still recovering from. But she followed her heart, and she is in Texas now, believe it or not. During her 8 years with the commission, she shared her many talents with us as far as working on our sustainability, our racial equity work, our systems change work. And her parting gift to us was the ability to do some restructuring of the programmatic side of First Five. We've always had some growth and like a ladder for people to move up on the administrative side. So we took her position, that program planner position, and we used that opening to create a Human Services Program Manager position, and then and which I'm very pleased to say we are moving Alejandra Labrado into that Program Manager, and she will serve as Deputy Director of First Five Sacramento. So excited about that. Yay. And then we took Alejandra's position and we downgraded it to be a Human Services Program Specialist position, so more of an entry-level position. It's pretty much cost neutral, but really creates a growth and opportunity and succession planning ladder on that side, so very excited about that. We are also filling an ASO1 position. Our ASO1, Shang Yang, promoted to the coroner's office as an ASO2. So with Latina's departure, we've sort of rearranged some of the work duties, but I'm also really pleased to announce that Lindsay Dunkel has transitioned to our team's racial equity lead. She'll do all of that programming, our external work, our internal work, our contracts for participatory grant making, and then ultimately those contracts going out to community, the $4 million. So lots of change. She's also going to serve on the county's GARE committee, which is Government Alliance on Racial Equity, and the county's Health and Racial Equity Work Group. So lots of stuff happening there, and she brought some gifts for you guys to share. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about these. We thought we would pass them around just so you can check them out. I could say. Okay. These are in partnership with Commissioner Wesley. Our commission has purchased these to distribute to our agencies that are working with Black and African American families. We do have a recruitment and retention issue kind of across the board we've been working on, and these are the Black family culture kits. And each kit focuses on a different piece. There's 4 of them, and the 2 that we're sharing today, we just passed out all of our big crock pots with black-eyed peas for the new year, and everybody got these amazing big crock pots with all the goods and stuff and books and everything. Lindsay has the skincare one. There's a skincare and a hair care. They're gendered. We brought you, I think, the boy version of the skincare, the girl version of the hair care. But so families, if by participating in our programming at Birth and Beyond, at Crisis Nurseries, at I can't remember where else, but they will. They have the opportunity to earn 4 kits over the course of the year. Each kit has some really cool stuff and books in it. So I thought we would share those with you. Thank you, Commissioner Wesley, for making the connect. It's all part of the Black ECE. Okay, yes, okay, close enough.
You got it.
Okay. Also wanted to just draw your attention that to the 2025 policy priorities. Those are in your packet. We did not change the priorities. We brought them to the SOS committee and said these are still really key things for us to be working on, especially in this time where advocacy is going to be very important. Moving into our new federal administration and looking at those changes that are coming down the pipeline every day, it feels like. Yeah, so we will be retaining those. I wanted to share a little bit about our SAC Family Connect Summit. We hosted our first one since launching SAC Family Connect in 2020. We had our first in-person gathering. Our theme was breaking down silos to better serve families. We had 140 attendees representing our county departments, community-based organizations, community members. Commissioner Cerna was there to kick us off. He gave the welcome and really set the tone of the day. And Commissioner Wesley closed us down at the end of the day with some really inspiring words. And we have a very short video to show that captures that day. If you could please play that. Great. It was wonderful. We had 45 people on the wait list who could not get in that day. So we will be going bigger for the next one. So just thank you. It was wonderful. There's a little evaluation update for you. Back at our August meeting, Commissioner Cerna raised a question around collecting multiracial data. Our Persimmon database system was not allowing that to happen. It's something that Birth and Beyond had been collecting but had no way of actually putting it in to our system. We called Persimmon after that, their principal, and talked to Michael Kogas. At first, our answer was no. It was too big of a change, wouldn't be able to happen. But then I guess there was enough pushback from others that, and some other commissions saw the value in collecting multiracial data. And so we got a call back saying, yes, we're going to change our system to allow that. So we're really happy about that. We won't have that data for this for the rest of 2024-25, but we may in fact get it for your next by the time your next annual report rolls around. So that could be wonderful. And one last thing. This seems like forever ago, but also in November, we had our regional 25th anniversary Power Building Summit. And we had 10 First Five commissions coming together to network and share local resources. And that Commissioner Cerna also on a panel again, talking about city-county county partnership with First Five and other departments around sustainability of programs like Birth and Beyond and others. And Commissioner Moak brought tons of energy as our MC. It was pretty cool. And I also have a very short video to show.
It was oddly like a Kings game.
Oddly, it ended like a Kings game started. Okay. We had such a great turnout. I saw a lot of you in there. Thank you.
I think you should just briefly tell the story about the food service.
The food service being from a family, yeah. So we had some great Mexican food, buffet style, and as we were lining up to get our food, it turned out that the company, the restaurant catering company, had actually been a First Five family in Placer County. And
Steve Services, a whole litany of services when they were really struggling and finding a tough to make ends meet. They were met by various members of the service, First Five service team that got them what they needed when they needed it. And then, fast forward, business owners catering the lunch for the very entity that they were served by. Super cool.
It gave me chills.
Yeah.
It was really cool. So lots of good stuff happening out there. Thank you. That does conclude my report.
Thank you, Julie. I do have a request, and it's a similar request to one that was made during our last Board of Supervisors meeting, and Siobhan and perhaps others might remember. But given the disposition of the current administration as it relates to federal funding and resources, I would think it prudent to have a designated future agenda item, maybe not the next meeting, but a couple meetings out, that give us some idea of where we are vulnerable, if at all. But I think it's wise to kind of air that, vet that, let the public know it at the same time that commissioners know where some of our potential vulnerabilities lie. And, in the event that we likely need to play some defense for the next 4 years, I think it's incumbent upon us to understand that in a fairly methodical way.
Excellent.
Okay.
Definitely will.
Great. Any other questions or comments from commissioners on the executive director's report? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone sign up to speak?
No, sir.
All right, very good. We're on to the next item.
Item number 5, Advisory Committee Update, November 8, 2024. Appoint Robin Blanks-Guster to the Oral Health seat.
Great. So this is our only appointment for this month. Robbins is a member of the Medi-Cal Dental Advisory Committee and has been a long-time supporter of early
Very
childhood.
well-known quantity.
Yes. I don't know if she's here today, but so we're asking for that. And we also have Javed Aman is in the audience to give an update on what we did at our last meeting.
Okay.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Commissioner Serna and Commissioners. My name is Javed Ahmad. I'm a PLTA alumni, and I'm a member of advisory committee member for representing the community, especially immigrant populations in the Sacramento area. We had a meeting of Commissioner Advisory on November 8th, and out of the meeting, we had the following achievements. Number 1, our meeting started with Commissioner meet and greet with LaWanda Wesley. She shared about her career in policy, advocacy, her passion for early care and education, and her role as a commissioner and co-chair for SOS committee. It was a great conversation, and members were eager, particularly I, to learn more about policy and advocacy. Thank you, Commissioner Wesley, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise with all of us in that regard. Number 2, the committee approved Junior Goris as chair and Jennifer Muhammad as co-chair. Number 3, there were other items of discussions, especially 2022 long-range agenda for our advisory committee members. Members brainstormed topics for discussions, program, and community data presentations, and playing how can we all participate in and play active role in our commission's meeting. Our next meeting for the advisory committee member will be February 14th. And that concludes the advisory committee member. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the report. Any questions? Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, we do have an appointment in front of us,
Yes.
right? Okay, so I will make the motion to appoint Robin Blanks-Guster to the oral health seat. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do we have anyone sign up to speak on this, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Chair Serna.
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley.
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Katari.
Aye.
Commissioner Gross.
Aye.
And Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Very good, thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 6, Evaluation Committee Update, November 18, 2024, and January 20th, 2025.
The Evaluation Committee met on November 18th and received a copy of the first 5 California Annual Report, which you'll receive later during this meeting. The Evaluation Committee also received and provided input on a special study focusing on the Sacramento Children's Home Crisis Nursery. That report can be found on the First 5 Sacramento website. And lastly, Stephanie McLemore-Bray with Touchstone Leadership Group provided a presentation on participatory grant-making evaluation. Our January meeting was rescheduled from last week to February 7th, this Friday, due to lack of a quorum for last week.
Thank you, Commissioner Gordon. Any questions on the update? Okay, don't see any. Anyone signed up to speak on this, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you again, and on to next item, please.
Item number 7, Financial Planning Committee Update, January 23rd, 2025.
Hello, everyone. The Financial Planning Committee met on January 23rd and established a quorum. Staff updated us about some staffing vacancies. They're currently working on filling the vacant ASO1 position that we heard about earlier, and restructuring the first 5 programmatic team in order to create a succession planning so they can offer an advancement ladder to the admin team. 2 program planner positions will be reclassified as a human services program manager and a human services program specialist, and that will result in a savings of roughly $14,000. Staff also reported good news for the First Five's PLTI program. They were happy to report that the Department of Child, Family, and Adult Services is funding an additional cohort for fiscal year 24-25. And this is item number 11 on today's agenda. The fiscal year 2023-24 audit was issued on October 31st and reviewed by the committee. There were no findings, and so the committee voted to approve the audit, which is on today's agenda for public hearing and approval by the commission. And lastly, the commission financial statements for the second quarter were reviewed in line with budget expectations. And this concludes my report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hassett. Any questions for our Vice Chair? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone sign up to speak on this matter?
No, sir.
All right, thanks again. And next item, please.
Item number 8, Systems Optimization and Sustainability Committee Update, December 18, 2024.
Good afternoon. So the SOS committee met on December 18th. Is that long ago? December
Yes.
18th? Okay.
So much has happened.
Yes. The committee reviewed and approved the 2025 policy priorities, which is in our packet. And we'll continue to focus on key umbrella areas while trying our best to take into consideration, as Chair Cerna was mentioning, projected cuts at the federal level. We received an overview of the upcoming strategic planning process and an update as well on the participatory grant-making process from the 2 community assemblies that we had. And both of those items will be discussed on today's agenda. It looks like items 12 and 13. Commissioner Katari is stepping down from the SOS, and we know that as ecumenical as we all are and collaborative, that she'll still be around to give us guidance on building capacity for our community organizations. And we are delighted to welcome our new commissioner, Melissa Lloyd, to the SOS committee. She'll continue our collaboration with the county's Department of Child and Family and Adult Services. Our next meeting is February the 19th, and this concludes the SOS committee report.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, anyone sign up to speak on this matter?
No, sir.
All right. Next item, please.
Item number 9, Public Hearing, Review and Adopt the First 5 Sacramento Fiscal Year 2023-24 Financial Audit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The fiscal year 23-24 audit was issued on October 31st, 2024, and was submitted to the state and First 5 California on the same date. It was completed by the auditing firm Macias, Genie & O'Connell, LLP, better known as MGO. And today we have Russell Robertson, Assurance Director at MGO, who will provide a brief summary of the report.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Cerna and the board. Yes, as Kristen has alluded to, my name is Russell Robertson. I'm with MGO, and thank you for letting me share the results of the fiscal year 23-24 audit First 5. I believe in your packet, starting with page 17, I'll be referencing 2 packages there. I will go ahead and start with the first report. This is a report to the commissioners. This really gives you a good guideline of our scope of the audit. What year we looked at obviously was fiscal year 24, and it goes over some areas that we focus in on and describes any issues that may have popped up during the year or any information that we feel is more important to share with you. So if I would, going through this report, starting with page 20, we indicate in this report if there's any new accounting principles or policies that were adopted by First 5 during the year, and there were none. So it was pretty straightforward, pretty consistent from last year, no major changes. On page 21, we do reference an audit adjustment that we did have. It wasn't a material audit adjustment. It was mainly a reclassification of a revenue type. So we moved it from one bucket to another. So it was just to make the classification presentation more consistent with the prior year. There were no consultations with other accountants. We didn't have any difficulties with management, and no significant difficulties encountered during our performing the audit. And then on page 22, we do issue, and we make reference to in the bottom of page 22, we do have a report on internal control and compliance matters, and I'll share some information when we get through that to that particular report. One last item in this report, we describe potential accounting standards that are coming up that may affect the commission. The only one that I foresee that may cause a little more work during next year is on page 24. It's the top one. It's the GASB statement number 101. Really what that is you have to disclose compensated absences differently, and you have to in your notes and how you report it on your financial statements. So we'll work with the commission on how to handle that. They're as you'll see in the report, and with the assistance of the county in Sacramento, their reports are pretty straightforward, very organized, and we appreciate that as auditors. So we have no fear that this standard is going to be any difficulty for them to administer next year. So going into the next report, starting on page 26, the meat and potatoes of our results is in this report is our audit opinion on the financial statements. On page 28, we start out with it, and our opinion, we provided an unmodified opinion for fiscal year 23-24. Really what that is assurance by us that the financial statements are prepared, not materially misstated. Everything is great. So that's a good thing to get on an audit. So going through this report, we also mentioned the internal control report that I'll get to later. And then we also do another report. So there's 3 reports in here, the internal audit report, the internal control and compliance of other matters report, and then also the compliance that the commission, as you know, have to adhere to during the year. You know, I won't go through the whole report, but there is a section in here that I think is very important, and I'll just mention it, is the first, starting on page, let's see, page 33. It's the management discussion and analysis section of the report. I think if anything else, that'd be one area that I would particularly read if I was on the board. That really describes what happened during the year, any initiatives, major initiatives that occurred, any significant changes. So that really gives you a nice summary of exactly what happened during the year. Again, going to the end of this section here, starting on page 70, is our internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters. I just want to share that in the course of our audit, we don't particularly give an opinion over all the internal controls that are in place, but we do review those to make sure that when we design our audit procedures that they are working. And if we do encounter something that popped up that was a problem or a finding, we would indicate in this section. There were none for fiscal year 23-24. So again, a clean audit in that respect. The last report that I'll speak on is the independent auditor's report on state compliance over Proposition 10. There's a lot of compliance requirements that are followed, and on page 73, we illustrate the section of what we selected in the test of transactions that we looked at, and at the bottom you can see what we went through, and we went through the whole guidance. So no findings, no issues. So overall, very clean. I want to thank Kristen, her team, and the county finance team as well. This made a very easy audit for us, and want to thank you again for letting me share the results. Any questions?
Very good, thank you. Any questions? I have one question. I don't know if you're able to answer it. Maybe Julie can, or Kristen. How unique are we in terms of having repeatedly clean audit reports. And if you looked at other first five commissions across the state, are there some that have had their challenges?
Yeah, I think, it depends on resources. I think that there is a commitment in this county to make this really very transparent, very organized, and I have seen issues in other commissions. So yeah, again, it's a pleasure just working with the team, and because we know that we're gonna get through it pretty easily.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
All right, do we have, let me open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that would like to address the commission on this matter? Seeing no one coming forward, we don't have any speaker slips, Madam Clerk. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back before us. It says no vote on my sheet, but we have to adopt. So
We go back and forth with this all the time. We
Yeah.
should just vote. Let's just do it.
here's the rule of thumb. If the verb to adopt is implied or explicit, we're voting. So
Do it.
All right. So we need to adopt the report. Is there a motion? The chair will move. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Serna,
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley,
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon,
Aye.
Commissioner Gross,
Aye.
Commissioner Kachari,
Aye.
and Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, very good. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item number 10, public hearing, review and adopt the first five Sacramento fiscal year 2023-24 annual report.
Carmen Garcia Gomez is right behind me and is going to take this one.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This public hearing fulfills the requirement of the Children and Families Act of 1998, where we need to file an annual report to First Five California every year by November 1st. We did submit a report on October 31st of last year. Today, I'm going to walk you through the report, and this is the one report that I do every year, which is just numbers, how many we served and how much money we spent, and what we have left over. So this report was completed in collaboration with our evaluation consultant, Applied Survey Research, and Persimmon. And thank you to all of our contractors that enter data into Persimmon to allow us to do this report on an annual basis. You have attachments 1, 2, and 3, which are the AR1, which is the revenue and expenditure summary. The AR2 is the Sacramento demographic worksheet, and the AR3 is the evaluation summary and highlights. During fiscal year 23-24, the total expenditures were $21.3 million, which was an increase of 10% from the previous year. The fiscal year ended with a fund balance of $18.5 million. Within that same time period, we served over 21,000 parents, children, and providers. The numbers stayed pretty much similar to the previous year. You see there that I have provided two tables with ethnicity of children and parents, and the primary languages spoken of the home and the clients. The other top...
Carmen, can I
Yes.
interrupt? Do you
Yes.
have a page number for us?
Page 76.
Thank you.
Oh. Thank you, Julie.
Yep.
Other top ethnicities that we provided services to during fiscal year 23-24 included Afghan, Arab, Hmong, Alaska Native American, Indian, Pakistani, Russian, and Ukrainian. Section 3 of the report is your Sacramento County evaluation summary and highlights. This year, we highlighted the crisis nursery special study that Dave Gordon referenced to. You can read the highlights there. And the county highlight that we submitted to First Five California was on the program, the Refugee Family Support Program, which was directly funded by First Five California. And we ended that program last year in, I want to say it was January of 2024. So we wanted to do a really nice highlight to demonstrate the success of that program, which was very successful here in Sacramento County. The staff recommends that the commission conduct a public hearing and adopt the fiscal year 23-24 First 5 Sacramento Commission annual report, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Carmen. Any questions for Carmen? Okay. We'll open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that would like to address the commission on this matter? Seeing no one coming forward, Madam Clerk, we have no speaker slips.
No, sir.
I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission for adoption. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Chair Serna.
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley.
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia.
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Gross.
Aye.
Commissioner Gattari.
Aye.
Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Very good, thank you. Thanks again, Carmen. Next item, please.
Item number 11, approval of revenue agreement with the Department of Child, Family, and Adult Services in the amount of $80,000 and amendment to Sacramento Children's Home contract in the amount of $72,000 to implement Parent Leadership Training Institute.
Okay.
As a note, there will be 6 voting members for this one.
Right,
Sorry.
because we have some recusals from DCFAS.
You're recusing. Sorry. Yeah. Great. We have soon-to-be Deputy Director Alejandra Labrada will take this one on.
Great.
Thank you, Julie. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As you know, we are partnering with the Sacramento Children's Home to offer 3 Parent Leadership Training Institutes, or PLTI, cohorts for the strategic plan. That is 1 cohort a year. Our Spanish cohort began January 4th already with 25 participants. And now we have the wonderful opportunity, thanks to DCFAS, to offer an English cohort this fiscal year as well. This additional funding of $80,000 will allow us to continue building on the momentum from last year of holding 2 cohorts in English and Spanish. That was thanks to public health. So we are recommending authorizing the executive director to enter into a revenue agreement with DCFAS in the amount of $80,000 and to amend the expenditure agreement with the Sacramento Children's Home in the amount of $72,000. The remaining $8,000 will remain in-house for oversight of the program, and this investment will result in a potential 25 new parent leaders for 2025.
Great. Thank you, Alejandra. Any questions for staff? Okay. Any members of the public sign up to speak, Madam Clerk?
Sorry.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Yes, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Chair Serna.
Aye.
Commissioner Wesley.
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Gross.
Aye.
And Commissioner Moak.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. Next item.
We can bring back our friend.
Hopefully they can hear us.
Security.
There was a time that one time we left people back there for like an hour. And we had gone on to like 3 other items, and I think it was before the speakers were like wired back there, because you guys can hear us back there now? You can't. Okay, so great. So yeah,
The speakers are on in the bathroom.
they're on the bathroom. So yes, I'm just glad to see that we've upped our game and bring you right back. So welcome. Yeah.
Item number 12, discussion item, update on 2017 strategic planning process.
Great. And for this one, we have Lindsay Dunkel, who, in addition to all of her new tasks, is also leading our strategic planning work for 2027.
but she can't figure out how to turn on a microphone. Good afternoon, Chair Serna, Commissioners. Although we are barely half a year into the 2024-27 strategic plan, it is already time to begin thinking about the next round of strategic planning. Feels like I was just up here for that. Oh, thank you. So last time around, I thought I'd rewind the tape for you so you could remember where we're coming from. The commission used a whole group process that included discussions at commission meetings and 2 half-day retreats. And the goal was to build off of the resolution on racial equity and social justice that recognized racism as the root cause of health, early learning, and family resilience disparities. And so we centered racial equity in the new strategic plan. The planning started with community feedback, with focus groups of community members, which included focus groups of parents, of line staff at family service organizations, and then one of people in leadership positions throughout Sacramento County. So the information from these focus groups was used to develop a survey that we pushed out to community. It was available in 4 languages, you might recall. It was ultimately completed by over 850 parents and caregivers, which we were very proud about. Those of you who were on the commission at that time received an analysis of the results of all this, along with a community trend analysis that our evaluation partners at ASR completed for us. And commissioners used all of this information and really deep discussion to set long-range priorities through 2034 using a consensus-building decision-making model. And this is what you came up with. The updated mission statement reads, in partnership with parents, caregivers, and their communities, we seek to advance equitable, inclusive, and culturally responsive prevention and early intervention policies, systems, and practices that eliminate racial inequities, promote health and development, and improve the lives of children prenatal through age 5 and their families. Still working on the elevator speech. So you see here the conceptual framework that illustrates the strategic plan. Children and families are at the center of the framework, informing and touched by everything that First 5 does. So the 5 priorities encircle that center. They're interlocking as an illustration of their interdependence with one another. So you have racial equity, health and well-being, quality childcare, parent partnership, and systems improvement. And then around the outside are First 5's core functions: to invest, to advocate, to convene, to collaborate, and to build capacity. So given that the commission set priorities through 2034, and given that our new funding is just now rolling out, as you know, staff is proposing that we maintain the current vision, mission, and priorities, and that we maintain the 9 outcomes under those 5 priorities and the 14 goals under those outcomes. We've only just begun the work, and in many cases, as with the participatory grant-making program, we haven't even identified allocations yet for that more than $4 million that are part of that initiative. So we propose shifting the 2024-27 strategic plan to a 2024-34 strategic plan, because that's what the priorities were set for, and looking at it as an overarching plan that's made up of discrete funding periods, the first of which is 2024-27. So we'll move specific fiscal information about each funding period into an addendum that's called a spending plan. And then we'll continue to create an implementation plan that lays out specific allocations to specific strategies for each funding period, stretching to 2034. The commission wisely allocated funding for creating ongoing opportunities for community feedback as well as building community feedback into every direct service contract. So we'll include all of that in the addendum each time at the end of each funding period. And we'll also update the child and family trend data about Sacramento County.
Can I ask a quick question about that?
Sure.
Just to interrupt. The child and family trend data is what cadence does that, are we receiving that in? Is it timely enough where we can incorporate it into?
Yeah.
I always thought the lag was too big.
Yeah, there is always a lag with that, right? And particularly with the child death review team information. We're all familiar with that lag. And so those are community indicators, right? So they're community-wide, and some of them are updated more regularly than others, but it's the same information in the same timeline that the commission has always operated under. I would say it is the best available.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cadence-wise, we would, every time we go into strategic planning period, now kind of what we're calling an implementation planning period, we would update that data. So it has been every 3 to 5 years, depending on how long the commissioners say this is the next strategic plan or implementation plan period. Because we haven't decided, you all haven't decided yet, will the next one be 3 years? Will it be 4 years?
Sure.
We would update with whatever is the most current right before you all go into making decisions about strategies and funding.
Yeah, if I remember back, it particularly came up during and around COVID, right? When we were like responding or trying to respond to things that didn't make sense based upon where now the world was. And so just so long as we are adhering to using as much data and resources that are out there to make good decisions and not relying on things that are out of, past their prime in terms of what we need to use them for. That's all.
Yeah, and I think that's where community voice comes in as well,
For sure.
right? They can correct for that.
Absolutely.
So I have a question before you proceed. Just looking ahead in the slide deck, are we still engaging result areas the way we have in the past when we're developing our strategic plans, or are we doing something different now?
So those 5 interlocking circles are the priorities, and everything is organized under those priorities. So previously we had we called it the hierarchy.
Well, we had a table.
Yeah, we had, and we moved away from a hierarchy and toward that more circular picture. But yes, it is still organized according to result areas when we get into the annual report.
And so I want to understand this. So besides just kind of the graphical, conceptual way of looking at it perhaps a little differently, is there a substantive difference in how we will consult the strategic plan? That's its entire purpose, is we consult it based on resource availability and our mission, general mission as a First Five Commission to implement and appropriate. So what, if anything, would be different relative to the fact that you're graphically showing it slightly, maybe in a more general sense?
It's going to continue to. Did you want to say something, Julie?
You can start and I'll
It will continue. I mean, the way that the First Fight statute is written is that we can only fund what is in our strategic plan. So it continues to be that overarching guide of what it is that we can put our money toward, and it is always the thing that we go to guide those allocations.
So the table is still somewhere? The table's still used? I mean,
The hierarchy, it doesn't.
I don't understand the hierarchy part.
Yeah.
Is that,
You know what?
is that code for priority?
Yeah, we used to have it would be broken up by priorities. So we had like 3 overarching priorities, and then
Right.
each one had a goal, and then each goal had a result area.
Right.
It was just kind of like, we called it the hierarchy just because it kind of like drilled down. Yeah, yeah.
I think I know what will help. I actually, if I could just talk you through this slide, I do have, Metro Cable has queued up what the strategic plan looks like right now with the goals and the outcomes, and I think that will help. Is it all right if I just finish this slide and then we can go? Okay.
Commissioner Wesley? Okay.
So the work this time around is going to be assessing any changes, as you were referring to, and revisiting the percentage weighting of each priority, and deciding what strategies make sense given those priorities and our declining revenue stream. So we anticipate needing to make cuts of about 25% in the next funding period. So in thinking about what support was needed for this way forward, staff felt that a short-term strategic planning consultant would deliver what we needed. So we created a request for quotes with these 5 deliverables that you see here. Thought partnership for staff, a presentation to the commission, helping to plan the community input process, although our contract with Lead for Tomorrow will actually carry out that community input process, creating a timeline for the commission's decision making, and then identifying tools and processes, and this is really the meat of it, for decision making so that we can guide the commission in making decisions. And we received 5 quotes, one of which was an outlier in terms of amounts, and so we conducted interviews with the other 4. And we selected a consultant named Lindsay Bellows of Heart of Strategy for up to $18,000 worth of consultation. She named equity-centered as a key descriptor of her approach, and she's consulted with several other First Fives and with the First Five Association, and seemed like the best fit for us. Okay, so Metro Cable, if you could bring up the other.
We're going to try this ourselves. Let's see how good we can be.
The magic of Stephanie.
This one, I think. Okay, hold on. We're getting there. We're getting there. Why is this not working? Is this it? Oh, wait, you can't see it.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, got it. Can you click?
Yes.
Yay!
Perfect. There's a lot of words in it. Okay. So this, you can see this starts with the priority, racial equity, and it's got the 2 outcomes that you guys named for that, and then the goals underneath it. So racial equity, diversity, inclusion, and cultural responsiveness is strong across all priority areas, and First Five Sacramento has invested in underserved communities. So there are your goals. Implement a Ready Plus CR plan, build capacity of non-traditional partners and smaller community-based organizations, which is what's going to happen through the participatory grant-making program, and fund new and non-traditional partners to effectively address community-led plans to support young children and families. And so I don't think I need to go through all of them, but here they are in that more organized fashion. Does that make sense to you?
It does. I just wanted to understand where we were leaving kind of the former structure. That's all. So it sounds like we just kind of remolded it. I don't know.
We're sort of taking the strategic plan that we changed usually quite a bit each of the 3 years, and we're going to say this is an evergreen document. The strategic plan, that 30,000-foot level document that talks about our 5 priority areas, our outcomes and goals, that's going to stay the same. And where you're really going to see the difference, what commissioners are really going to work on around the percentage to each of those priority areas for funding and any new strategies that we think we should implement in order to reach the goals and our outcomes. that's the type of work that we'll do. It's still kind of the same work, but we're going to say we're going to do it in an implementation plan and keep this larger document sort of across all 10 years, because that was the visioning that you all did, was a 10-year vision when you did it. We just said it was a 3-year plan, but when staff sat down to look at it, we said, we really can't blow up this plan. We haven't even really started to implement, and it's so different than what our plans used to look like. So it didn't make sense to come back and say, let's look at rebooting the whole thing. We're recommending we keep the framework of the strategic plan for the 10 years and sort of just look at the deeper dive of money and strategy and timeline.
And that still stays a 72-month exercise, right?
It is a long exercise, but it might be a little bit shortened by the fact that we're not reinventing the whole big document at the top, that we're just making it evergreen and we're really focusing in on the other.
So what can we expect, if anything, that will be different in terms of budgeting?
That 25% reduction is what we're looking at right now. So, and we know, and this is why you can't make those decisions yet, right, is because we haven't launched, we haven't even launched the READY grant, the READY funding out the door yet, which is why your strategic planning is going to be pushed a little bit later, and why we're coming to you to kind of say, this is what we're recommending, is we keep this big thing so we don't have to start reworking it already. And later, we're going to come back to you and say, this is how much money we have for the next plan. We need you to determine the years of the plan, or the years of that implementation plan. Here's how much money we have. This is what the spending plan would look like, and then ask you all to prioritize.
So we shouldn't put blinders on thinking that we have to function, operate in the same kind of 3-year running cycle?
Staff are starting first this time. We're going to get the jump on it with our strategic planning thought partner, our consultant, to really help us figure out the timeline for you all, so that you're not rushed at the end, but that we have as much time as possible to see what's happened with the current strategic plan before we're coming to you with recommendations to make changes to it.
All right, fair enough. Commissioner Wesley, you still?
Yeah, I think you answered a lot of questions. It feels like what we have built in is that we have a strong, solid framework, so that will always stay in place. And so the priorities are there, but what gives us leeway is thinking in mind with the 25% cut, not knowing such as times as this, not knowing where things could go. We might want to prioritize one particular area in terms of a weighted
yes.
And we will know what that would look like in terms of community-driven input. We will know what that looks like in terms of with some consultancy, the staff, of course, us as commissioners, but we will take all that into consideration and have that leeway. But we do the continuity and the consistency is the framework. These are our 5 priority areas. This is what we will have metrics around and outcomes around. But we will decide with all the community input, consultancy, commissioners, we will then look at what we put weight behind, and then therefore, with the addendum, look at, financial inputs and then implementation. Is that right?
That's exactly it. Articulately said, yes.
Vice Chair Hassett.
I really like this. I mean, having served on that committee forever and watching the little rectangles go away every year because we were losing money, and having kind of this pathetic thin layer of strategies never felt good.
Yeah.
It also didn't reflect the fact that in some years we might be prioritizing more funding for one area because we found funding.
Yep.
I like that there's an equality to all 5 of the circles, and it recognizes their interconnectedness, and that we're not reinventing this every year. I mean, we have a strategic plan at Weave that has 5 pillars, and I'm like, I don't want to redo the pillars every year. It's just what's underneath them and lifting them up is going to look different every 3 years or so. So I really like it, and I feel like it's really easy to understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, my line of questioning is not, shouldn't be interpreted as condemning this new approach or criticizing it. It's the fact that the past approach has been around since the beginning. So it is a departure. And I just think it's worth understanding exactly why we're changing and how we're changing, so we don't get confused and you don't spend a lot of time having to one-on-one explain things to us. So
Perfect. And that is what we're here to do, too. So thank you for asking the questions and getting the clarification. It helps us present it better, too, because we have to take it out to community, and the questions here and the way it's stated here really is helpful to us to take it out. So thank you.
speaking of present, do you have more slides in the deck?
That's it.
That's it? All right, very good. Okay. Let's see. This is a discussion item. Any other comments, questions from commissioners? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, next item, please.
Item number 13, presentation, update on participatory grant making and CBO partnership initiative.
Great. You're getting 2 presentations in one, and we're going to start with Stephanie McElmore-Bray from Touchstone Leadership Group to give a quick update on participatory grant making.
Thank you. You would think I would know by now how to work this, right? Sorry. Commissioner Cerna, first 5 commissioners, thanks for having me back. I'm excited to report out on our phase 1 work through our participatory grant making process. And again, I want to acknowledge the team and their support and help with our team in completing this phase. And so just to remind everybody, there were 2 work streams. Phase 1, which is our community engagement work stream, and that was to design or to work to build a community design process for identifying the deliberative panel that'll make the decisions about where the money will go. And then the second phase is actually the participatory grant making process, where the panel will convene and talk about and decide who gets the awards. So just a timeline, and I post this again because it has shifted. And so in September, we started our outreach strategy for the community assemblies, because the goal was to host community-based and non-traditional organizations to tell us how the process should be designed to select the panel. And so we all through September, we did that work. We built an outreach list, worked with the team, and felt like we had a really robust list of folks who had not previously been engaged. And then October, on the 23rd and the 29th, we had assemblies. The 23rd was an in-person assembly. The 29th was virtual. And then February this month, we will be reporting out to the community what they told us. We have not yet done that, but we promised that we would. But we'll also take that as the opportunity to launch the recruitment process, which I'll talk to you more about. And we have a date. It's February 26th, and it'll be virtual from 5:30 to 6:30. And so we will invite the 272 people, as well as a broader group of stakeholders, to come and hear what we learned during those assemblies, and we'll launch the process. And then our goal is that in April, the panel will be identified and onboarded, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that'll look like too. And so, as I mentioned, we sent out 272 invitations, and we got an outstanding response rate. We were shooting for 10%. We got almost 20%, which was wonderful. We had a registration form in English and in Spanish. We did personalized follow-ups via text, email, and phone. We also provided a stipend to all of the attendees, and it was interesting because somewhere along the way they didn't realize they were getting a stipend, so that was kind of funny, even though we advertised it. We also provided them with a dinner, and there was childcare available for the in-person participants. And so the registration criteria was you could be a staff member of a BIPOC-led or serving community-based organization supporting children and families aged 0 to 5, or a community member who receives services from such an organization, or an individual or business interested in serving children aged 0 to 5, and your organization had not received funding from First 5 Sacramento since 2010. And we selected that time frame because based on the internal analysis of First 5's grant making, we determined that that was when the funding was reduced dramatically. And it really moved into kind of a maintenance model where the same folks were getting their funding renewed, which essentially limited the opportunity for other organizations to receive funding. And that was because the funding was reduced, right? And so we had 60 people. There were 25 in person, 35 virtual. 78% were from BIPOC-led organizations. 87% served BIPOC communities. And the attendees represented Black, Latino, Asian, Afghan, and white communities. And the overwhelming majority were from communities of color. 10% were businesses, 72% were CBOs, and then 10% were community members, and that's how they identified themselves. And then the neighborhood representation was North Sac, South Sac, North Highlands, Rancho Cordova, and Arden Arcade, even though our outreach did extend to Galt and other places where First 5 identified that there hadn't been much engagement. But we were happy to see some folks from like the North Highlands, that North Sac area come. So that was really wonderful. And so the agenda was really designed to engage the community as much as we could. We certainly talked about the purpose, right, so that everybody understood why they were there and what we wanted to accomplish, and then what the process would be, and we walked through all of this at the very beginning. It was important to establish group agreements because we know that an important aspect of community building is making sure that the community has an opportunity to come together in an environment that was inclusive and could be productive. And we didn't assume that everybody was coming from the same place culturally, and certainly not racially or ethnically. And so those group agreements were really, really helpful in establishing a container of trust among and between all of the different groups that were represented. And then we gave them some background. You know, how did First 5 arrive at this idea, right? And we gave a very quick overview of that strategic plan goal so that they could understand why we were asking them to come together and do that work. And then we had a set of probing questions, which I'll share with you in the next slide, to really set them up and set the stage for the discussions they were going to have. And then we had the breakout groups. And we had, I think we had 5 or 6 different breakout groups. And they were facilitated by a member of my Touchstone team. I got to facilitate one as well. And then they came back together and did report outs, which was really, really amazing too. And then conclusion and next steps, including we invited them to come to commission meetings if they wanted to get regular updates. We also promised them that we would come back and share what we heard with them. And then, of course, we made sure that they got compensated. So the questions were centered, these are the questions. First, we asked them what came to mind when they heard the statement. First 5 Sacramento has set aside $4 million in grant funding to be decided by a panel of community members for BIPOC-led and serving organizations. What are some benefits of this approach? What are potential drawbacks? What questions do you have about this approach? And then what suggestions or considerations do you have? And so that really kind of set the stage in a number of ways. One, it helped establish trust. They were all sitting together hearing the same thing. It also sent a message that First Five is really serious about community engagement and really cares about their input. And so that was absolutely essential. And then the breakout sessions. And so the goal here was to help design recruitment strategies, right, for the panel. And so there were 5 key pieces to that as well. What criteria should we use, right? What qualifications, expertise, or frameworks for panel members? Recruitment resources, where should we look? Targeted organizations, geographic areas for outreach, are there others? Recruitment messages, what should we be saying about this, right? What are some key themes and values that should be conveyed during the recruitment? Key messengers, who are the individuals or groups responsible for that outreach? Who are those trusted voices that can help identify panel members? And then there were some wild cards, because we felt like folks were going to come in with some pretty general questions about everything from who can apply, who's going to get the money, things that we weren't necessarily there to talk about, but we wanted to allow space for that as well.
The real food is great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were pretty clear about that. Please, no more pizza or, yeah. Okay, so this might be hard to read, and if you have it in your packet, I just wanted to point out a few different things. And so we thought it important to kind of organize, what we heard from the group in this way. And so you'll see it's organized by the key criteria. The one that really rose to the top was the first one, which is they have to have first-hand knowledge of the community, of the BIPOC community. Then proven lived experience was also high on that list. They thought it important to have boots-on-the-ground organizations, or what they called not the usual suspects, right? And that ranged from everything from, some of these organizations have, big staff, right? Are they going to be allowed to have their staff come in and tell everybody, where the money should go? They much rather preferred smaller grassroots organizations of people who they believed were really those boots on the ground, and who really were connected into the community. They wanted those represented that didn't have a voice. And they wanted to make sure outreach happened at low-income housing complexes, for example, and building a transparent process so that everybody understood what was being done. Cultural competency and sensitivity was also important. And because First Five Sacramento is focused, one of the areas is health and well-being, someone talked about the importance of making sure that there was outreach to healthcare providers who are working with those families and with those children. They also talked about small businesses, and we were very clear with them, and we used the language from the strategic plan, referencing non-traditional organizations. And the question was, well, do they have to be nonprofits? No, they don't. And so they wanted to be sure that the focus was on small businesses in those underserved areas. Experience with early childhood education, having children aged 0 to 5, they thought that was pretty important too. And the other thing that was really interesting was, overwhelmingly, they talked about, can we have some young people, especially those folks that are in households and have some responsibility for the younger children in their family, and in particular those that are between 0 and 5. And they talked a lot about where to find them, right? And they talked about grocery stores or beauty salons or nail salons. There was also talk of, can we partner with organizations that serve those youth and ask them to make recommendations of young people who could serve? And so I just shared kind of the overarching recommendations. So the panel recruitment, again, ensuring that they represent diverse geographic, cultural, and professional backgrounds, include individuals with lived experience and grassroots work, and then adopt a nomination or referral process to identify strong candidates. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Accessibility, make sure it's easy, that it's not a cumbersome process, and make it user-friendly, translate it into various languages, accessible through a number of channels. There was even talk about potentially, having kind of a paper-based thing, right, to make sure that you're reaching people who don't use technology that much. And then provide adequate compensation. And that includes, of course, stipends, transportation, and child care for any in-person engagement in order to ensure participation. And then community trust. Share the report so that there's transparency, and then clearly communicate the panel selection process and how community feedback was incorporated. And so one of the companion pieces that we're doing with First Five is around that communication and narrative building. And so we actually are working with a partner that has contracted with First Five, and we'll be testing any key messages to recruit the panel before they go out. And so there'll be another opportunity to engage with some of those folks who participated in the deliberative panel process design, to also take a look at how First Five is talking about this and get their feedback. And then the next steps. And so we're going to share the report, and I hope that you'll mark your calendar, again, February 26th, 5:30 to 6:30. It'll be virtual, and you'll get more information, but you are invited to come in here. And our goal is to recruit a panel of up to 15 people who will serve. At least 3 will be between the ages of 16 and 24, so that there's that youth representation. And there will be onboarding curriculum and training, and so we'll be developing that. And they'll include conflict resolution, which we think is really important. Again, tapping into that community building piece and recognizing that folks are coming in from very different places and experiences. Training on decision-making. What framework are they going to use to determine, how they're going to decide who gets the money? And then how to deliberate. How do you even do that, right? And then we'll identify or help First Five identify an evaluation partner. And it'll be, I don't know if it'll be different from the current partner, but the goal here is to identify a partner who understands how to evaluate participatory models that are community designed and community led and community driven, because the exemplars may be very different. And so one of the things that we've started to do is we've engaged with an organization called the Equitable Evaluation Initiative, and they were really the pioneers of equitable evaluation. And they use cultural markers, they use cultural rigor as one of the indicators of equitable evaluation. And so it's scientific, but they also acknowledge that cultural rigor really is a thing, and it's important to take into account, especially when your approaches are rooted in this participatory model where people are coming in and bringing their lived experience, which creates a whole other kind of milieu. And it's something that needs to be taken into consideration.
Commissioner Moak.
So that's it. Thank you so much, and I'll be happy to take any questions that you might have.
I do have a question, Stephanie. Thanks for that. So cool to see where this is all, how it started, and kind of where you are now. I'm sure you're excited to keep going through the process. My question actually is, I think, small and technical around the identification of a evaluation partner, just making sure that there are resources that were allocated money, that there's money there to do that.
Yes.
We put that into our spending plan for the implementation plan.
Super duper.
Yep.
Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia.
So I wanted to follow up on that question. Do we evaluate our current grant making now? Do we evaluate that? Aside from looking at the outcomes of the things that we've implemented, we don't evaluate that, right?
No, we don't.
So
what we did, we called it discovery. When we first brought on Touchstone Leadership Group, one of the first things that they asked us to do was to go back and look at how many partners did you all start with? How many partners did you end with? That's how we got to the 2010 date, which is from 2010 forward, we practically funded the same people. We lost agencies. We lost agencies as we had to take fiscal cliffs, but we really didn't bring anybody on. Okay. And so we sort of did this like forensic internal thing about how much money did we have, how many partners did we have, what did our outreach look like in the beginning, what did it look like in 2010, what does it look like now? We didn't call it an evaluation, but we did kind of go back and pull all of that information together to help us sort of look at what would a participatory grant-making process look like and how would it be different than what we'd currently been doing.
And so we're doing that now prospectively to avoid realizing that later and having to redo it.
Yeah, and it was really apparent in the prior, not the 2024, but the 2021 strategic planning process, where at that time, because of county council basically said you have to go out to bid for all contracts. There can be no legacy kind of contract, so everything has to go out. So for the first time in a long time, many contracts went out to bid, and we had brand new people at the table applying for the dollars, but because of the way even like our rubrics for our evaluation, and they like give points to whether or not you've been a partner before and how long have you worked with the target audience and all the things like that. We ended up with the same partners all over again, even after going out to bid. And that was really one of the things when we started looking at revamping the strategic plan. We knew we had to look at revamping how we grant make as we make grants as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Yeah.
So when we're developing our panel, and not to get too much into the specifics of how that panel will deliberate, but it looked like there was a significant number of folks who preferred another language in the services that we delivered, and those are folks who will ostensibly be serving on this panel. So if we welcome folks who have limited English, that has a lot of implications for how a group deliberates, especially a large one.
Yep.
And that could be needing in-person interpreters, but also translating every application.
Yeah.
So that someone can actually evaluate the application in the language that they're most comfortable with. And that's a very tall order. So just something to consider as you're planning on, as you're developing your processes, and maybe, I hate to limit participation, but, if we don't have the resources to ensure that somebody can, do the job we're asking them to do, we might need to limit.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Well, I think of it a little differently, and it always starts with asking them what they need. What do they want and need in order to fully participate? And then we can make some decisions around that. I think that, thank you, and we should be mindful of that, absolutely. But I also think that we should ask them so that there aren't any limitations that we might be imposing because of assumptions that we're making. But to say to them, What are you going to need in order to fully participate? And that can be part of the nomination process, right? And so we've already started to frame out what that form would look like. And we'll be getting feedback from the team as well. And most likely, we'll be going back out and asking the folks who helped us to say, hey, take a look at this. What's missing? How can we ensure that there aren't any barriers to people participating? Because that's one of the key principles of this whole process.
Commissioner Wesley.
I just have a question, and if it was somewhere in here, forgive me if I missed it, but for the panel members who are being, when they develop their process, will there be backup members in case because life gets to life in? Alternates, yes. Will there be alternates that might serve? And then I was thinking that would also help with any succession planning or mentorship. And I'm also thinking about the youth, because I know they have incredibly busy lives, but they are so powerful when they're part of these communities. So yeah, any alternates.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great suggestion. And I think as the group comes together that first time, that's one of the things that we can talk about as well. It's like, how do you make up, right, if you're not able to attend, and what's the best way to do that so that everybody is engaged? And so that's certainly one of the things that we can talk about too with them. And, I'm certain we're going to get lots of applications. We'll have a robust pool. And so we can then work with a team too to think about, does it make sense to have a few folks that could be alternates in the event that we need them?
Yeah, and maybe that's one of the questions. Would you be willing to serve as an alternate?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Commissioner Gross.
So this is just a little bit in the weeds again, but to go back to the language justice that Commissioner Fernandez y Garcia was talking about, just want to say that if we get into using headsets, which we did at the PLTI training, that could be something that if First Five was able to fund it, that then PLTI could do. You have the technology that then we share across this initiative and PLTI, because we had been hoping in the beginning of PLTI to do a language justice oriented cohort where we would have simultaneous translation, and it didn't work out in our first go. And then now we're doing the separate cohort, Spanish and English. Mm-hmm. But if they could all be together in the same room, it was so powerful for us with the training that everybody had to stop and wait for things to be translated all day long. And that would be really valuable, that we could fold it into somehow sharing those resources across different things that we're funding.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the presentation, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right. Last item on today's agenda is the commission's.
Well, we have, you
we
got a
got-
twofer on this one.
Oh, we do?
You're
Okay.
getting a really quick update. Because you just heard this presentation, and they're so, they just dovetail together so well, which is the Sacramento County's CBO Partnership Initiative. And that one. Okay, so, and this really is, we're having this discussion because of Chair Cerna actually acting as a supervisor Cerna. When the county declared racism as a public health crisis, it really made the disproportionate negative outcomes even more obvious. Shortly thereafter, Chair Cerna asked a question about what can the county do to help support our community-based organizations. They were really stepping up to help during COVID, and he really wanted to see how can we use some of our ARPA dollars in order to provide longer-term support for these CBOs. And so with that, the board, with his leadership, approved $7.2 million allocation to help build capacity among BIPOC served, led, rooted grassroots organizations. That funding was eventually changed from ARPA money to general fund money with some switching around of stuff, but really set the ball in motion for a countywide, what we call CBO Partnership Initiative.
I'm going to stop you real quick. You said moving around stuff, so I just want to make sure everyone understands it was all on the up and up. It was all legal, and it was all with a great deal of forethought so that especially the media would not do what they did during the onset of the pandemic, which confused the heck out of what we're doing to make sure that funding was available past certain dates.
Yes.
Just
Thank you
want to
for
put
that
very
clarification.
clearly on the record.
That's why you're chair. So in 2023, we partnered with Sac State, the Institute for Social Research, and they conducted a landscape analysis of primarily small, very diverse nonprofits in the county. But 21 county staff were involved in focus groups, interviews and focus groups with 14 support organizations that acted like backbone organizations during COVID, focus groups with 12 small CBOs, and then an online survey of 158 community-based organizations. We then gathered all that information, and Commissioner Qatari led 4 forums, community forums. Chair Cerna and our county executive, David Villanueva, came and kicked off the in-person gatherings. The forums were grounded in the knowledge that CBOs make a huge difference in our community, that they're very valued, and that the county was listening to the information that they were provided during those focus groups and the surveys.
And I just want to make sure we understand that the CBO, when we say CBOs here, it's not just those limited to fulfillment of First Five's mission.
No,
much broader. Much
broader. Which again is like why it dovetails so well with what we're doing with PGM. I'm going to save it for the end, but I have to say, it's a good time to be a nonprofit in Sacramento County who is serving underserved populations right now. With First Five's $4 million going out and the $5 million going out to community-based organizations through the county's partnership initiative, it really is going to make a big difference here in Sacramento County. These are the questions that the forum led by Commissioner Qatari really drilled down on. And she acknowledged that the county has not always been the easiest partner or the easiest agency to partner with, especially if you're a small nonprofit, and that we needed to build some trust between the county and the CBOs. This is what came out in those surveys is some trust issues. She assured the participants that the goal is to create an equitable program that changes the way the county operates itself. So we kind of started off looking at it as a two-pronged approach. What can the county do to change our internal operations to make it easier for these nonprofits? And then what do the nonprofits need in order to actually build their infrastructure and sustainability and other capacity building? The landscape study was designed collaboratively through county work groups that were established by Commissioner Qatari, as well as Pure Genius Consulting and the Institute for Social Research. They collected data from December 2023 to April of 2024. And these were the key questions that were asked in the study, which is, what's the experience and what are those barriers and what can be done to overcome those barriers. The 4 key themes, what came out, again, I kind of alluded to, CBOs were very important. There's a lot of challenges in working with our behemoth county. We have limited formal resources that we have put toward our small CBOs to build their capacity, and that removing barriers to funding and support systems to fully realize the potential of CBOs. This is a long list of recommendations that ISR put together for us. They really noted that these challenges and recommendations were very deeply felt by the smallest of the community-based organizations. So Commissioner Qatari looked at all of those and said, why don't we establish some working groups? So following the release of the study, she did just that and put together 4 work groups that looked at reducing barriers for local CBOs, finding ways to increase consistency across our county departments and decrease confusion with how to navigate the county, and then identifying innovative strategies that help to build trust, improve communication, and promote the strengthening of CBOs in some of our priority areas. So at the workshops or at the forums, we basically said, we heard you and we're working on it, and these are the main internal county improvements that are being implemented right now in response to the CBO feedback. It's pretty impressive how quickly the work groups dug in. They made the recommendations. Recommendations were brought forward to the work groups, and now the county is doing this internal work, while simultaneously building a program that is a granting program for the nonprofits to help them build their capacity. So this is the other side of the coin. So some key findings from the CBO capacity building side of the survey are shared on this slide. Our capacity building efforts are being led by the county's Department of Health Services, specifically the Health and Racial Equity Unit, and they are looking at how to build the capacity of agencies through a 2-pronged approach. The main goal is to bring more small grassroots agencies to the county's funding table, as well as to assist them with our invoicing and our internal challenges. And we are improving these areas, as mentioned in the earlier slides, and we understand that the county is still going to have challenges. So we wanted to work with the agencies, again, for the capacity building side to help them strengthen their own abilities. So CBOs can receive funding in one of 2 ways. These are the 2 different approaches. One is they can join a cohort with other CBOs who are all looking to serve a similar audience or geographic area, or are interested in a similar topic, something like food insecurity. CBOs will each complete an organizational assessment to determine their priority areas for support. And while the details are still being worked out, we imagine that the cohorts will meet for 6 to 12 months. They will get a small grant in order to implement some of the things that they decide to work on in their cohort to spend at their own agency level. And then the second piece is we're calling it a self-directed grant. Those are smaller grants for CBOs that don't want to participate in a full 6 to 12 months. This is like a one-time funding opportunity to fulfill a need, like they just need a financial audit, or they just need consulting to get a strategic plan done, or they just need that cooler to keep their fresh produce cool so it would last longer. And these were some of the examples that came out of the report for those capacity building supports. So that's really it. It's a lot. That's like a year and a half's worth of work in 15 short slides and 15 minutes. But I just wanted you to see these agencies can come in and say, we need support for capacity building, or we need support for direct services, and there's going to be a path for them of $9 million coming down the pipes for them to participate in. So it is really exciting. And I'm happy to answer any questions, or Commissioner Qatari certainly can answer some questions.
Any questions for our Executive Director? Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We don't have anyone signed up to speak on this matter? Madam
No,
Clerk?
sir.
All right. Now, we are on to the last item of this afternoon's agenda, which is comments from commissioners. I just have a question. Does Commissioner Gross want to introduce her trusted sidekick?
We're all welcome to hold them if you want.
How old?
2 months tomorrow.
2 months. Very good.
Yorick.
Bjork?
Yorick.
Yorick. Oh, I like that. Well, I'm glad that he's joined us here today.
He almost made it.
Almost.
It was perfect.
Oh, he's better behaved than I am. Any other comments for the good of the order? If not, I want to thank staff and thank our commissioners and our speakers. Again, thank you, Stephanie, for your decades of service. If there's no further business before this commission, we are adjourned.